Good evening and welcome to World News on TVP World. I'm Anna Kalczyńska. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has arrived in Geneva, Switzerland, for talks with his European counterparts about Tehran nuclear and missiles programs. Quoted earlier this week, Araghchi said there was no room for negotiations with the US until Israeli aggression stops. Two unnamed diplomats cited by Reuters said before his meeting with officials from France, Britain, Germany and the European Union, Araghchi would be told Washington is still open for direct talks, though a swift breakthrough is unlikely. The representatives of the E3 countries and the EU's foreign policy chief reportedly met separately prior to the meeting with Iran's foreign minister. A senior Iranian official told Reuters Iran was ready to discuss limitations on uranium enrichment, but that any proposal for zero enrichment, not being able to enrich uranium at all, would be rejected, especially now under Israel's strikes. The European Commission's proposal to revise down the price cap on Russian oil is considered dead in the water. According to EU sources, this is due to the volatile situation in the Middle East. Our EU correspondent Angela Skujins explains from Brussels what this means and other ways the Europeans are plotting to put pressure on Russian President Vladimir Putin.
8 days ago, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced her bold pitch to revise down the price of Russian crude oil from $60 per barrel to $45. Now, in the 8 days since then, the plan has mostly unravelled. This is according to two senior EU sources that spoke to TVP World on the condition of anonymity. Now, they cite the volatile situation occurring in the Middle East. We're talking about 8 days worth of strikes between Iran and Israel, which has led to this decision. We know that Reuters news agency is reporting a volatile energy market there with oil prices skyrocketing. Now, there seems to be quite a little bit of upset, which is leading to consternation in the European Union, but this is not the end of support for Ukraine, as well as pressure piled onto Russian President Vladimir Putin. European Council President Antonio Costa will be looking for political support, a buy-in at a European Council summit next week for the 18th sanctions package against Russia for that country's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. The oil price cap revision was the centerpiece of this, but without it, we can expect pressure to still be put on Russia's military, financial and energy sectors. However, our sources are telling us that one member state is holding out. They may only vote on this political agreement after some legal manoeuvring occurs. We don't know which member state this is, but if history can inform us, it is potentially Hungary or Slovakia. TVP World is in the process of seeking commentary from both of these Ministry of Foreign Affairs to get clarification as to what position they sit on regarding the 18th sanctions package, as well as the rollover of EU sanctions, which require unanimous support every 6 months. Angela Skujins from Brussels for TVP World.
Romania's recently elected president, Nicușor Dan, has nominated the leader of National Liberal Party, Ilie Bolojan, as the country's next prime minister. Bolojan is set to continue talks with 4 other pro-European parties to form a coalition and is scheduled to ask for a vote of confidence for his cabinet next week.
Before even being formed, Romania's next government already has its work cut out for it.
I will pursue 3 directions: to put the country's finances in order, to work for good governance that creates conditions for development in Romania, and through everything we do, not least, to show due respect to Romanians.
The country's fiscal deficit from last year, equal to 9.3% of GDP, has to be lowered within the next government's tenure to avoid a ratings downgrade and to simultaneously unblock billions of euros worth of EU funds. The EU has proposed fighting the deficit by increasing VAT, and the freshly appointed Prime Minister agrees with this approach. However, Romanian President Nicușor Dan really wants to avoid raising taxes to keep in line with its election promises. Ilie Bolojan, the man asked with forming the new government as well as helming it, is the leader of the centre-right National Liberal Party, or PNL. According to reports, he's looking to create a pro-EU coalition made up of the PNL, the centre-left Social Democrats, the centre-right Save Romania Union, and the Hungary minority party UDMR, which would have a parliamentary majority.
Russia launched a massive drone strike on Ukraine's port city of Odessa overnight, killing 1 person and injuring 14 others. Many residential buildings were destroyed as well.
According to Ukraine's state emergency service, the attack began at 1 a.m. local time, with Russian drones hitting 8 locations in the city. One of the targets led to the evacuation of over 600 people, while another left 3 firefighters injured. They are currently in hospital but are in stable condition. The attacks also damaged infrastructure at Odessa main train station.
Another prisoner swap between Ukraine and Russia took place on Friday as part of the latest agreement reached by both delegations during early talks in Istanbul this June. The news was announced by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Many of the returned Ukrainian defenders have been held in captivity for more than 2 years. According to Ukraine's coordination headquarters for the treatment of prisoners of war, Russia handed over severely wounded and seriously ill Ukrainian soldiers. Most of the servicemen freed on Friday were defenders Mariupol, currently occupied by Russia, and were captured during its defense in 2022. The Netherlands has launched its largest ever security operation, dubbed Orange Shield, involving tens of thousands of soldiers, police and the Dutch Navy. It comes as around 6,000 delegates, including US President Donald Trump, French President Emmanuel Macron and the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will gather in The Hague for the high-stakes NATO summit.
The danger is that we can be surprised by a threat which is coming to the NATO summit, and we want to prevent that. So the aim is to observe everything what's happening in the area, at sea and in the air, and therefore we are operating here. And in the case of an escalation, we can conduct operations to ensure the safety of the NATO summit. We have scenarios which always can happen, like we have seen at 9/11. That's the ultimate scenario which you can have probably in the air with a hijacked aircraft. And these are also scenarios which we take into mind. We don't hope it to happen, but in case it happens, we have everything in place to handle this kind of situations carefully.
We really need to succeed in increasing our collective investment efforts, said French President Emmanuel Macron during his appearance at the Paris Air Show on Friday, the world's largest aerospace exhibition. The French leader urged EU bloc members to expand their spending on space investments.
We are still very fragile on this issue. Let's be clear about that too. And that's why the announcement made 2 days ago is fundamental, but it only marks the beginning of a forced march of reconquest that we must undertake. And so, here too, it is all linked to the fact that we do not have a clear enough vision, or that we have sometimes made mistakes, that we have not believed enough in private innovation, including from emerging players. And I think we need to learn from this, namely that innovation can come from the private sector, or at least it certainly comes from public-private collaboration, and it can come from very emerging players. And then the budgetary effort is not uniform. We need to be clear-headed. Per capita, space expenditure is 200 euros per capita in the United States, 32 euros in Europe, and 46 euros in France. So here, we really need to succeed in increasing our collective investment effort.
And on that call, we conclude this edition of World News, but please stay tuned to TVP World. Bottom Line with Don Arleth is coming right up. Thank you so much for being here.